Well, let's get into the news. So we have gotten to the point, and technically a couple of days, by the time this comes out, in fact, it will already be at that point, that the Steam Deck has reached its third anniversary. And um, there's definitely plenty of stuff we can say about this and just, what the Steam Deck has been for us as gamers, especially as PC gamers. But the estimated number of sales that it's had in the past 3 years is approximately 4 million, potentially a little bit more, and that's just through 2024. Now, for those who are comparing this to the Switch, obviously those numbers are paltry in comparison. People who are comparing it to the PlayStation Portal, it's paltry in comparison. However, there are some very important factors to consider here. Number one, obviously it's a very niche product. I mean, it's a handheld PC. It's not a console. So that's the number one thing, is it's niche and it's a handheld PC. Number two, it is only sold through Valve directly, not sold in stores, whereas those other products are all sold in stores all over the place. You can buy them just about anywhere. So there's that massive difference. Those are the two big things to consider when looking at this. And I guess third, which kind of goes along with the first point, is that this was never intended to compete with the Switch. It was simply, it's its own thing, and as far as we can tell, it is the best selling of handheld PCs. So, with all that being said, why don't you give me your thoughts?
Well, it's kind of interesting. Like we're already at the 3 year mark. I mean, it doesn't necessarily seem like too long ago that it released, but I mean, we had the initial release, then the following year we had the OLED, and here we are now, entering year 3. And I mean, I'm definitely satisfied with the Steam Deck. It definitely brought me back into handheld gaming when I pretty much was just like, I've dropped out of handheld gaming. I mean, the Switch initially did that for me. It brought me back into handheld gaming, but then, after I dropped off from that, I was like, I'm not doing handheld gaming anymore. And then Steam Deck came out. I was like, I'll give it a shot. And then, I mean, from the first year of me owning it, it was my most played platform, and it still is to this day. I mean, it's been, as far as like my Steam metrics go, it's just like, yeah, most of your time was spent on the Steam Deck over your own PC. So that just shows how much I actually enjoy this device. But you know, going to what you mentioned, it's also incredible the fact that you said it blows it even though it, as you said, it's small potatoes compared with the Nintendo Switch, but it sold more than the other handheld PCs, especially with like the Ally and the Lenovo Legion Go. Those are sold in multiple outlets, but the Steam Deck still outsold those, even though it was only available on one platform, which is interesting. Granted, there are certain things that kind of helped on that end, is the fact that the Steam Deck, except for maybe like a few variants, is cheaper than the other PC handhelds, which definitely helped it a lot. And I mean, I think also to a degree, brand recognition. I mean, even though people know MSI, people know Asus, people know MSI and Lenovo and all of them. People know Valve though, because that's where most people buy their games on PC from Steam, so they go and buy the games there. And so they said, hey, we can just buy a handheld from them as well. So I mean, that definitely helps, but I think also another thing is the fact that Valve sort of paid attention to what the community wanted to a degree, because there were certain things that they improved upon, with later revisions to the Steam Deck, but then also with the OLED, providing certain things and features. I mean, for one thing, an OLED screen, larger screen, better battery life, um, you know, having a lighter handheld altogether, and even also certain stuff with like the thumbsticks being different as well. I that definitely helped with with the success that the deck has. Um, of course, what happens in the future with the successor to the Steam Deck, we don't know. Valve, of course, has said that they don't want to make a new model until they are satisfied with the leaps in performance that will be made. But who knows how soon that could be? Because after all, I mean, we don't know. We have speculation, but based on the current, or I guess soon to be released mobile AMD chips, those are supposedly going to have a whole lot of performance, especially with the I guess I don't know what they're called, if they're like called AI cores or something like that, but essentially I guess you could consider them sort of like the tensor cores. I don't know if it's gonna be sort of like helping with upscaling or something like that, or hopefully making things more efficient. But it's definitely supposed to be more powerful than even their latest mobile APU. So, if that's something that could be in the next deck, that would be pretty cool. So maybe next year, or if not the year after, we could see an official Steam Deck too. But I mean, all things considered, I think Valve has done a good job with what they've done here, and I'm satisfied with my Steam Deck. Both the original model, the OLED, it's been good. And I'm glad also that they improved certain things with like logistics, because initially it was just only available in the US and also I think certain parts of the Europe. But then with the OLED releasing, they opened up to Japan, they opened up to Australia, and even some other countries as well. So if they're able to get more devices out to more people, hey, that's great in my book. But yeah, definitely have had a good time with the deck, and look forward to using it some more. But that's essentially everything I have.
As I've said many times before, obviously this was never intended to compete with the Nintendo Switch. And this, I mean, it undoubtedly exists because of the Nintendo Switch. The Nintendo Switch is what took something that was even more niche before, handheld PC gaming, and, of course, did it in console form. Nintendo took something that was more niche with handheld PC gaming, put it in console form, and made it significantly more popular. I mean, it was literally a game changer for so many people, myself included. And I mean, I've been a fan of handhelds for a really long time, especially as an adult, with a job and everything, having something that I could conveniently take with me, like to play on breaks at work or that sort of thing, was a huge deal. And the Switch really changed things for me because of the fact that it gave me something so much more powerful than the other handhelds that I had. And of course, took the Nintendo home console, put it in handheld form, and basically you have the Wii U, a little bit more powerful than the Wii U, in a truly portable form. And the Steam Deck, of course, took what Nintendo did and decided to do it for PC gaming. Give us something that's more affordable, starting as low as $400 for the base version. And as you go up, of course, it's more expensive for more storage and everything else. But it took what Nintendo did and did it for PC gaming. Now, the purpose of this was, of course, beyond the fact that it was providing something for PC gamers as well as something for people to get into PC gaming, a cheap entry point. It also was... I forgot where I was going with this. It also was a way to bring more people into SteamOS, make the adoption of Linux as a platform for PCs, something that people were more interested in. And it's undoubtedly started to gain more of a market share. It's still nowhere near as prevalent as Windows, but it's made some serious headway. And that's why we have even other handheld PCs like the Lenovo Legion Go S that is Proton based, that it's using Steam OS instead of Windows. And the fact that they've added, these Proton compatibility layers in order to make it so that you can run games that were not built for Linux on a Linux device, and a lot of times with ease, has been huge. Now, of course, we still don't have every PC game able to be played on Linux, and certain anti-cheats prevent that from being an option as well. But it's still just really impressive what they've been able to do with that. And the amount of sales that they've had, 4 million isn't that much when you compare it to the Switch, when you compare it to these other things. But you also, when you consider the fact that this is a handheld PC and not a console, it's an open platform. You can install Windows on it if you want to. You can play your entire Steam library. 4 million is still nothing to shake a stick at. You can't look at it and say, oh, this is terrible, unless you're only looking at it from the perspective of consoles. And when also you consider the fact that this is sold only through a single marketplace, through a single vendor. It's only sold through Valve. You can only buy it through Steam. It hasn't been advertised very much. It's basically just functioning off of word of mouth. It's not doing bad. Now, the other thing is that it also has... I guarantee that it's not just me, it's not just you, but the people who have bought a Steam Deck have bought way more games since getting a Steam Deck than they bought before. Now, of course, some people already had ridiculous backlogs like you, and others who have even larger backlogs. I've seen some people who literally have thousands of games, and I can't even imagine that. But, for every bit of money that's lost on those Steam Decks, they're making up for it in software sales. Even people buying a bunch of cheap games, they're still buying a bunch of games. And true, that's not every single person. But I know some people, several people in the Married to the Games Discord who Steam Deck, and in some cases other handheld PCs, it's their first foray into PC gaming. And they went for it. They've gone with this simple, cheap entry point, and they've been enjoying it. Now, they're still not off of consoles, and that's fine. I don't expect most people are going to make the switch 100%. But dipping their toe in with the Steam Deck, and I think that's one of the things that is great about this device, is that it is a way for people to dip their toe into PC gaming. They can start to learn, as much as it's been made out to be super intimidating, super difficult to deal with, a lot of times it's really not that difficult. Now, yes, there are definitely edge cases, some situations where it's frustrating as all get out trying to get a game working. But those are very small, few and far between. I have had some situations like that, obviously. I talked about my experience trying to run Dragon Age Origins before, and it wasn't until you suggested using the Heroic launcher when I tried that took care of my problem. But before that, it was a big headache trying to get it to work. And then there's when I originally tried to get Red Dead Redemption 2, the Rockstar launcher version, working, it just wouldn't work. It was impossible. It would not work. And didn't matter what I did, I could not get it to work. And so then I ended up buying it for Steam, and it ran great. No problems. It's just, there are pluses and minuses always to PC gaming, as we've said many times before. I think ultimately, like so many other things that are difficult, it's worth the effort. And, I'm glad to see that the Steam Deck is doing as well as it is. It is, as far as we can tell, the best-selling handheld PC available right now. And that's good enough. And because it's the best-selling, it's also help to make SteamOS more of a viable platform for people to play PC games. I'm still not at a point where I'm ready to make the switch to Linux because there's just enough things that are like, just enough issues with compatibility with some of the software that I use on a regular basis to where I'm just like, I don't know if I can quite commit to that much of a change. Plus, of course, just the amount of work it would be to get all my stuff transferred over to a new operating system and relearn a bunch of stuff. But I still think it's good what it's done. Obviously, it's never going to reach console levels of sales. It just won't. And that's fine because that's not what it was ever designed to do. It is competing with the other PC handhelds, which I will also mention. I think it's also important to note is that as much as the Switch was something that helped the Steam Deck to become a thing, to give us an affordable PC handheld, the Steam Deck is what has given us competition from all these other manufacturers, because it was after the Steam Deck had its first year, was doing really well, that you have Asus and Lenovo and various other hardware developers starting to put out more cost-efficient handheld PCs. And, you know, you'll still have, like, what's that one brand that's been making them for a while?
GPD?
GPD, yeah. GPD doing the GPD wins and all that stuff that are going to be more expensive and that sort of thing. And a lot of times what they're doing is really cool. But for those, you know, for all of those, you have the bigger hardware manufacturers competing in this space, trying to put out a better product to, you know, outsell the Steam Deck. And it's good for us as consumers. It's good for them. I mean, it's just great across the board. So I'm really happy with what the Steam Deck is doing from that standpoint. And for me, as someone who has loved PC gaming for years, but for so many years was basically like, I really want to play this on a portable device. And in some cases, many cases, I would buy the game on Switch, either for the first time or for the second time, just because I wanted that portable experience, because it was easier to find time to play here and there on a portable device. The Steam Deck has completely changed my PC gaming. It's made it so that I almost exclusively play my Steam Deck for PC gaming. Now, of course, there are situations where I don't. I mean, you know, games that are too demanding for the Steam Deck, yeah, I'll be playing those on my desktop. But sometimes I'll just stream the game from my desktop to my Steam Deck, because I love the form factor. I love the back buttons. I mean, like, the back buttons have really spoiled me, and I'm hoping that the next Steam controller is built with the same layout as the Steam Deck, because that would probably be the only controller I would use for most games. Like, I'll still use the DualSense for PlayStation exclusive, or, you know, for the PlayStation published titles that actually utilize the DualSense. And I'll, you know, it's not like my Xbox controller is gonna gather dust, because I still love that controller. But it ends up getting used more often by my kids, because, you know, when we do multiplayer, I have a PlayStation controller and I have an Xbox controller. And so usually that's how we'll get it used. But I mean, the Steam Deck, though, has really changed my PC gaming, because it's made it possible for me to actually play games from my library that I've had for years. Things that I just hadn't gotten to. Of course, the one thing that I don't like about it is that it's made it hard for me when I really want to have a physical copy of a game, because then I'm like, I think I have to double dip so I can still get the physical copy, even though I'm probably not going to play the Switch version, because I want to play it with better performance and better visuals and everything else. But yeah, it's been so nice, and it's been great for getting into longer games as well, because it's made it so much easier than having to be at my desk and playing a game there. I can play, you know, for 10 minutes here and there on a game, put it in, you know, sleep mode, and then come back to it later. It's like, yeah, no problem. Instead of, you know, when I'm on my desktop and either have to keep the game paused and, you know, my computer asleep or whatever for the day, or I just only have certain times of the day when I can actually play, and it's just super convenient being able to play the Steam Deck. I mean, like, I've been thinking about it, and I've probably played almost exclusively my Steam Deck this year, apart from when I've been recording gameplay videos. It's been like, yeah, it's crazy. And now, I should say, of my handheld devices. So that's more of a clarification, because I haven't really played my Switch much at all. My kids are actually playing the Switch more now than I am. And the Steam Deck is just, it's convenient. I can, if we have a TV show on, or if we're listening to a podcast or something where I don't have to, actually watch it, I just have the Steam Deck, play game on there. And if I, if I need to take a little break from work, got 15 minutes, hey, turn on the Steam Deck, play there. It's just super convenient, super nice, and even though there are definitely games where they don't run well enough to be worth playing, or at least haven't in the past, I might have to test some of those out with the improved video RAM there, but I'm still just like amazed at this device, and I would say it's very likely that Steam Deck 2 is going to be a day one purchase for me whenever that happens, because I've been so happy with it. So, but of course, that's also assuming that they actually do an OLED screen for the Steam Deck 2, which they better. But anyway, that's really all I have to say. I could probably go on and on and on, but I'd probably just be repeating myself. So,
Yeah, and I'm just gonna quickly add this here because I can't believe I neglected this. What you mentioned, the fact that the Steam Deck contributed a whole lot to Linux gaming, and I mean, really, if it wasn't for the Steam Deck, I wouldn't be gaming on Linux as I am today. So I mean, the contributions that Valve did with Proton and trying to make SteamOS improving upon what it was before, because they of course had SteamOS for the Steam machines, but those weren't. It was not where it needed to be. But they've made constant improvements, and it's gotten a whole lot better. And as you've said, it's not perfect, but it's way better than what it once was. I mean, even today, it's way better than what it was at launch.
mm-hmm.
So I mean, like, they've been putting more effort in there, and it's just been a continuously improving experience. And I'm definitely grateful for that on that end.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on that topic?
No, sir.